1926, they discovered the perfect trap. 40 hours keeps you alive, but too tired to escape. Henry Ford ran the numbers. He tested different work schedules and found the sweet spot. 40 hours. Not because it's optimal for productivity, because it's optimal for control. Let's do the math. 40 hours work, 10 hours commuting, 56 hours sleeping, 14 hours for eating, showering, basic survival. That's 120 hours, leaving you 48 hours of free time. Except you're exhausted. So you spend Saturday recovering from the week, and Sunday dreading Monday. Your weekend isn't freedom, it's recovery time, so you can do it again. Monday morning, the alarm goes off, and you feel it, that existential dread. 5 days until freedom. 5 days of giving your life away. For what? A paycheck that disappears instantly. Rent, bills, food, loans. Nothing left. You want to start that business? Too tired. Learn that skill? Too tired. Build that project? Too tired. That's not an accident. That's the design. If you had energy left over, you'd leave. If you had money left over, you'd build something. If you had time left over, you'd organize. They can't let that happen. So they found the formula. Just enough money to survive, just enough time to not completely break, just enough energy to come back tomorrow, but never enough to escape. And then they tell you, work hard for 45 years, then you can retire. So you do it. You trade your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s for a paycheck. And at 65, you're free. Except your body's broken, your energy's gone. You spent your best years building someone else's dream, and your freedom came too late to use it. The 40-hour work week isn't about productivity, it's about compliance. Keep you tired, keep you poor, keep you busy. Too exhausted to think, too broke to leave, too busy to organize. That's not employment, that's control. And you'll do it for the next 45 years. Unless you break or escape, but you won't, because you can't afford to. That's the trap.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. That is to say, in the Paleo-Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahashim, which means in the name. Yahweh Shai, which means He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man who, by the way, only came for the Israelites. All right? So there you have it. That's the trap. Okay? That's the trap. All right? You seen it. You seen it. All right? 1926, they implemented the 40-hour work week with 2 days off. All right? So that you can recover or have downtime or leisure. All right? But that just goes to show you how evil these devils are, man. They do diligent searches, okay, to see how they can get the most out of their slaves, all right? The optimal performance without breaking them is right there at the sweet spot, 40 hours. That's just the work. Not to drive there, not to eat, not to do anything else. That's just to work, all right? Now, I looked that up because before this video, I had no prior knowledge of this, okay? It says in 1926, Henry Ford formally adopted a 5-day, 40-hour work week for his factory workers at the Ford Motor Company. See, you think you're going to work, but you actually just being studied, all right, in these factories, these labs, all right? It says, with no reduction in pay. This revolutionary policy helped popularize the modern weekend and set a precedent that would eventually transform global labor standards. Yeah, right. Okay, because what the hell are we working for? All right, we paying rent for a place that we're barely there because we got to go to work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Some of us work longer hours than that. So we're barely staying at a place what we pay for. Okay? And who knows if you got a house or a mortgage you paying, you know, you pretty much giving most of your energy over to your job or your career than that house that you so much, you know, got into debt over. So it says this revolutionary policy helped popularize the modern weekend. Yeah, where you can just recover from the 40 hours that you just put in for working for someone else. It says Ford's decision to reduce working hours and close on Saturdays and Sundays was driven by several key factors and lasting impacts. See? So the whole thing of it is that they actually did a diligent study to find out that 40 hours is the optimal, you know, time that a person could work and not break. All right? And keep them coming back just enough to give them that glimmer or, you know, glance of hope. Okay? That they can have a weekend to do what they want to do, but during the week, they're ours. Okay? It says increase productivity. Ford's internal research and assembly line testing, that's all it was. It was a testing site, a testing facility. It says showed that while longer hours yield a temporary boost in output, it resulted in diminishing returns and worker burnout. He believed well-rested employees were significantly more productive and efficient. Yeah, for him, for his business, for his company, you know, but not for them, but not for themselves, okay? Because you can't have a life outside of your job, all right? You have to be dedicated to working for that one business, all right? Especially in today's world, because why? Jobs are so hard to come by, okay? And then eventually AI is going to take over because why? People are waking up to that fact. People are waking up to the fact that they're working 40 hours a week, some even more, and they got nothing to show for it. So they're not working anymore, all right? That's why you got these uptakes in content creators. People trying to start their own business, okay? And failing miserably. All right? But the point of it is they're not working like they was back in these days, the 20s, when America was booming. The Industrial Revolution was booming. All right? Back when Ford and GM and all these factory plants, they were booming. When you can afford shit, okay? Not like today, man. When you work 40 hours, you can barely make rent. You got to work 60 plus hours and hope you land a job that pay good enough. All right? See the deception of a 40-hour work week that set the precedent for where we at right now? You know, slaving just to get by, and you can't even really get by. All right? So this is all BS, man. All right? These damn devils knew exactly what they were doing when they made these factory plants, these manufacturing plants. Back in the industrial back when America was booming, back in the industrial era. All right? When Jake could afford a house, okay? Now, you can't afford damn gas to put in your car, man. It says, consumerism and leisure. Ford recognized that for a booming industrial economy to thrive, workers needed both the time and the money to consume the products that they were building. By granting his employees the weekend off, remember, this is all a search, a diligent search. And we're going to get into scriptures. He anticipated that they would engage in leisure activities. Why? Because he just had them work the whole week, okay? It says, such as taking road trips and purchasing automobiles. Riding along in my automobile. Dun, 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 dun. See? Nobody looking to purchase. I mean, you still got, some of these damn Americans think that, America's going to be, revived. America is finished, man. It's through. It has ran its course. There's nothing else left for this place but to be destroyed. It says, labor law evolution. While labor advocates and unions have been fighting for an 8-hour workday and shorter work weeks since the mid-19th century, Ford's high-profile implementation influenced corporate norms. And he was plugged in, man. All right? He was plugged in. Okay? To what? To these damn central bankers, man. He had somehow, some way, a connection with the central bankers, whether it was the Rothschilds, whether it was the Rockefellers, whether it was J.P. Morgan, whoever, man. All right? Because all these damn devils, they rub shoulders together, man. Okay? It says, his success paved the way for the 5-day, 40-hour week to be codified into U.S. federal law a decade later via the Fair Labor Standards Act. See? So you can thank Mr. Henry Ford when you get up to go to work this morning and you do your 5-day, 40-hour work week, where he's taking you away from your house because they want your house anyways, man. They give you that illusion that you own it, but you don't. Don't pay your taxes on it to see if they don't come and seize it. See, you have nothing in this man's society. All right? Back in the 20s, it was more believable, okay? Because things was a little bit more what? Affordable, okay? Things was a lot more affordable, okay? Now, you can barely, like stated earlier, pay for gas, pay to fill your car up to get to work. But it's only going to get worse, all right? And it needs to, okay? It's only going to get worse, and it needs to, all right? Because that's the only way we're going to be delivered out of this hell, all right? So let's get a few precepts. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and verse 25. It reads, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, who are what? The Israelites, okay? And think to change times and laws. See? They do a diligent search, okay? They thought about this 40-hour work week. They used the manufacturers, to perform this analysis, this test, all right, if you will. It says, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times. See? So he has this time to do exactly what it is that he's looking to do. All right? And that's to do what? To come down with that great wrath. Okay? Revelation 12 and 12. He knows he has but a short time. All right? So he's coming down with that great wrath. All right? He's giving you 40 hours. All right? Matter of fact, now he's giving you close to 60, okay? Because people are working more, just to pay for the same thing that they got back in the 20s. They're having to work a lot more. But the 40-hour work week was the minimum. It was the bar. Okay, now you got 3-day, 12-hour work days, or you got 4-hour, 10 work days, but nevertheless, it's the 40 hours that they try to hit. That's the sweet spot. However they can get it. 5 times 8, 4 times 10, they'll give you 312, which is close enough, 36, But nevertheless, 40 hours is that sweet spot, okay? For you to have hope, for you to believe that you can still have some type of resemblance of independence after working majority of your time throughout the week, put together with sleep and driving to work. You pretty much spent your whole week preparing to work for someone else. And then they give you 2 days off, 48 hours, okay? To quote unquote, have leisure. But it's just to recover, all right? Until you dread getting ready to go back to work on Monday. So it says, Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, who are the Israelites, and think to change times and laws. See? He put it into effect, man. The labor law. All right? The time, 40 hours a week. All right? They did a diligent search of that. And we're going to get that in the scriptures. And they should be given unto his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times. See? And that's where we're at now. We're in them times. Okay? Starting back with 1969 when we woke up to this truth. All right? To now, 2026. All right? And the Lord is getting ready to take this man out of power. Okay? For the elect's sake. For the elect's sake. All right? This is the book of Psalms. Let's go to chapter 64. And let's read verse 6. This is Psalm 64 and 6. It reads, they search out iniquities. See? They accomplish a diligent search. They did their homework. They studied. They did a diligent search on just how many hours can make an individual feel as if they still have hope, but they don't. Okay? You get up, you work your 9 to 5, you go home, you try to fight to stay awake, to feel like you didn't just give this man majority of your day, because you have no freedom here in Babylon the Great. All right? And we know Babylon the Great is the beacon or the light for the rest of the world to follow after. Okay? It says they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. So they do their due diligence, all right? They really go into this thing, okay? And now they come into the point where they don't need humans to work anymore. They've used you for all that they can get out of you. They squeeze you for every last drop. So now what are they going to do? They're going to replace you with AI, okay? They're going to replace you with robots. And if you want to somehow have a resemblance or be assimilated into this system, you're going to have to get that microchip, all right? So that you can work with the robots and be integrated with the robots, all right? But other than that, you just take your UBI, your universal basic income, and shut up and be happy, okay? So they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. A diligent. That's the word that we harping on, okay? Because in 1926, Henry Ford did a diligent search and found that 40 hours was the sweet spot. Not too much, not too little. Just right. To keep you coming back. To feel like you have hope. In actuality, you have no hope, okay? Outside of this truth, see? And this is why we glad we woke up to this truth, because we could have been chasing and running and in that trap for 45 years, as they said, until we hit 65 and retired. See, but the Lord woke us up to this devil, man. And we know now that the end is near. You see? We know now that the end is near. Okay? So let's go to Micah 2 and 10. Speaking on that, waking up out of this, nightmare, we understand that this is not our rest, because Jake's still fighting for them 40 hours, man. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, and verse 10. It says, arise ye and depart. See? Now, we came out of this place spiritually, okay? But physically, we still got to get our daily bread, all right? Until that time comes where we no longer rely on the system, and we rely solely on Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. It says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Why? Because it is polluted. See? It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. All right? Now, you working all these damn hours a day, and Jake work more than 40 now. Okay? Jake come in on the weekends too. Now you don't have time to serve who? Your power. All right? You don't have time to serve Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All right? Because why? You're giving all your time and energy to a system that is failing. Okay? Because why? You're trying to pay your rent. You're trying to get ahead of the curve. All right? When the Lord told us to arise and depart, man, and come out of this place. Okay? You can't give all your energy to this goddamn beast system, man. All right? Because it'll consume you. Okay? It'll have you working 7 days a week. All right? It'll have you working more time than you should, and you can't give any time to who? Yahweh through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. All right? That's why it says in the book of Ecclesiasticus, Sirach chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken, that a man that has a little business shall become wise. Okay? You got to make time for the things that matter. And you got to put time aside for this truth. Not saying that you can't work, but you got to make time for this truth. All right? This is your number one priority. This should be your number one love. It says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. See? And we understand that these are our enemies. They will have it that what? We should be destroyed. So we need what? Salvation. This is Luke 1. And let's start at verse 67. This is the book of St. Luke, chapter 1 and 67. Zechariah's prophecy. It reads, and his father, John the Baptist, Zacharias, was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, saying, blessed be the Lord power of Israel, Yasharallah, Prince of the Power, for he have visited and redeemed his people, the saints. Okay? Do we need to go there and give it to you? We got a little bit of time. What is that? Psalm 149. This is Psalms 149 in verse 9. It says, to execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh. Okay, now let's see if we can see who the saints are. It says Psalms 148 in verse 14. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel. Those are the saints. A people near unto him, praise ye Yahweh. Okay? This is how we prove all things according to the scriptures. Okay, who the saints are, because people just use that word loosely. You can't be a saint if you're not an Israelite. All right, point blank, period. So let's go back to Luke 1 and pick up where we left off at. This is Luke 1:68. It says, "Blessed be the Lord, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people," the saints, "and have raised up a horn," we read that in Psalms 148:14, "of salvation for us in the house of his servant David," which is who? Yahushua, because Yahushua came out of the house of David. It says, "as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began." Verse 71, "that we should be saved from our enemies." See? So we have enemies, okay? That's how you know the Lord didn't come for everybody. He came for a particular people that have enemies. St. Luke 19:27, "those that are my enemies, that I should reign over them, bring them hither and slay them." See? And we have enemies. Go to Psalms 83. We have a list, okay? And Esau, Edom, Amalek, to be specific, the so-called you-know-who's, the 1948ers, is the number one enemy that the Lord has, indignation for forever, okay? It says that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. See? And don't get it twisted, man. These devils do a diligent search for who? The Israelites. Because don't make it to where you think that this whole 40-hour work week was just for the economy. No, man. It was for the Israelites. So-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. All right? Predominantly Judah. All right? To keep them preoccupied. All right? To keep them dumbed down. All right? Because one thing about Judah, man, Judah will fight. That's why it says, "as a lion, who shall rouse him up?" See? But he fights for the wrong thing, man. See, Judah, so-called African American, he'll fight for rights at the job. See? Jake fight for the wrong damn shit, man. Instead of fighting for this truth, he want to make sure he get his labor laws. He want to make sure he get his overtime laws. But he don't want to make sure he keep the law, statutes, commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai to the best of his ability, man. Because why? He's destroyed. All right? He's destroyed. This is Micah 2:2. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 2. It says, let's start at verse 1. It says, "woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds," man. Now, we just read in Psalm 64 in verse 6 that they do a diligent search. It says, "woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it." See, they came to light with that 1926, 40-hour work week. It says, "because it is in their power of their hand." See, the Lord gave them that time, dividing of a time, and dividing of a time. It says, "and they coveted fields and take them by violence." See? So this damn devil, man, this is how he took the Native Americans' land, by violence. Okay? He came over here and just snatched it. All right? After pretending to be, a friend, and the Native Americans got him through the winter, the first winter, to show them how to grow crops and everything else. What did this devil do? Thanked them with a blanket full of smallpox. All right? And then eventually just took him. All right? Through what? Incidents that took place like the Trail of Tears. All right? It says, and they coveted fields and take them by violence, in houses and take them away. So they oppress, St. Luke 1:71, those that are our enemies and hate us, so that they oppress a man in his house, give him 40-hour work week. You see? Give him 2 days off. So that they oppress a man in his house, every man in his heritage. Now you just getting by. You just got enough to pay your taxes on your land, on your houses. And if you don't, they'll take it. See? You get no rest in this damn place, man. It's work you to the bones until you 65. And then through your life choices, you don't got too much time after that because you didn't eat right, you didn't take care of your body. Because why? This man don't give you a lot of options too. When you working that much, especially now if you are a truck driver, you on the road more than 40 hours of work a week. You ain't eating right, you ain't exercising, and you doing that just for what? To pay rent, to pay a mortgage, that if let's say your children don't pay on the taxes, they're going to lose their house. So you retire after working 45 years in the trucking industry or in these manufacturing industries, like the automobile industry, only to come to find out that you may have all type of carcinogenic cancer and shit like that from working in these factories. You retire at 65, your health is deteriorating, you ain't got much time to live, but you gave this man the best years of your life. All right? See? That's the trap, okay? It says, so they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. You ain't got shit here in America, man. This place is through. All right? It's through. All right? And we've been telling you that, okay? But see, you're going to see for yourself very soon. The Lord ain't going to prolong these visions anymore. All right? He's going to allow them to manifest right before your very eyes. And then you're going to know that a prophet has been amongst you. All right? So that's going to pretty much be it, on this lesson, this topic, the trap, and we're going to go ahead and close out. This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5, and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. See? Understand that this is the trap, the snare, okay? The gin that the fowler has set, okay? And a lot of our people have gotten victim and fell victim to it. Work their ass off until their 60s, retire only to, not have much time to enjoy themselves, see? But see, we get great comfort in these scriptures, knowing that the Lord is coming, all right? And that he's going to deliver us from this. We need deliverance out of this, man. All right, because it's only going to get worse. That's why it says in the book of St. Matthew 24 and 22, if the Lord did not shorten the days, there would no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. It's only going to get worse. It started off with the 40-hour work week and the 2 days off for leisure. Then it's going to eventually go to what? Universal basic income, where this devil provides everything for you. See, he worked you. Now he's going to give you a great compensation package, but it's going to require you what? To take that mark of the beast. And then from that point forward, it can only go worse. It can only get worse. Because now he has his device inside you. But see, that's why the Lord got to shorten these days. All right? Because there would no flesh be saved, including this own devil, man. Because he has no chill. All right? He just knows to destroy. He don't know how to chill and relax. That's why he'll work the earth, the land, for 7 days straight. Because he doesn't know how to chill down. He only knows how to what? Be disobedient. So it says, 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Okay, those that want to be part of the system, those that want to work 7 days, those that want to eventually take the mark of the beast and be destroyed. Those are who he's looking to destroy, to devour. All right, but see, the Lord is coming, that horn, that salvation for the elect, to get us up out of here, man. Because we know if the Lord didn't come, there would no flesh be saved, man. This devil has to be put out. He has to be stopped. He has to be taken down. And Yahweh is getting ready to send his only begotten son, Yahushua, to do just that. All right? So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. All right? So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. Hey, we almost home. Shalom. Peace.